in the olden days, we saw a lot of 22 orders on a very consistent
Yeah.
basis.
Hmm.
That's shifted a little bit. So when you have these shorter orders, how does that affect, or is that something that people should be mindful of? How does that play into my strategy when I'm trying to get in the game in terms of choice of show or?
Well, it doesn't. If you're really starting, if you're looking for an assistant job, I think probably just picking if there's a show that looks stable, it's been on the air for a while, or it's a new show that there's a lot of heat on and it's got a full season order. Probably it's worth just going for that. Going for it's like bridge, your longest and strongest suit, but length is more important than strength. So even if the show doesn't look great, I would probably pick the thing that has the most longevity because you can have a greater chance to develop relationships. If it's a matter of picking a writing job on those shows, it's a tough call because obviously it's very nice to have a job that lasts a long time. It's rare in this industry. And so to a certain degree, I really understand people who make conservative choices and say, well, this show has been on the air, looks like it's going to be on the air, I'm just going to go with that even though I think it's not as interesting creatively. The counter argument is I went to college with Marty Noxon, who has had a great career and ended up, she started on Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and I think she was a staff writer, a story editor. She was very early on in her career, and she was offered two jobs. It was Buffy, and I think it was this show called The Pretender that was on NBC, had a lot of heat, really looked like it was going to do something. There was, this was going to, and she was offered, and that looked like a much better job. But she looked at Buffy the Vampire Slayer and went, I have to do this. This is so cool, this crazy, weird little show. Well, for her, it was clearly the right thing to do because she ended up running the show. I mean, she was on that show for years. So there's an argument to follow your heart, and there's an argument to be strategic.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a big, and that goes back way to the beginning, the choices that you make when you're doing a spec. If you decide to do, write some specs,
yeah,
I think that's where it really looms large. Like, choose the thing that lights you up, because when you go into that room or when you get into a conversation, you're going to be so much more naturally engaged and excited and articulate and creative in that space because it's your brand voice. It's not a forced situation.